The Flight of Ketz-ol-ko-at. Then the time came for Quetzalcoatl, too, when he felt the darkness twist in him like a river, as though it meant to weigh him down, and he thought to go then, to leave the city as he found it, to go, forgetting there was Tula, which was what he later did, as people tell it, who still speak about the fire, how he first ignited the gold and the silver houses, those walls speckled with red shells and other Toltec arts, the creation of man's hands and the imagination of his heart, and hid the best of them in secret places, deep in the earth, in mountains or down gullies, buried them, took the cacao trees, and changed them into thorned acacias. And the birds he brought there years before, that had richly colored feathers, whose breasts were like living fire, he sent ahead of him to trace the highways he would follow towards the seacoast. And the birds that he brought there years before, that had richly colored feathers, whose breasts were like a living fire, who sent ahead of him to trace the highways he would follow towards the seacoast. When that was over, he started down the road. A whole day's journey reached the juncture of the tree, so called. Fat, prominent bark, sky branches. I sat beneath it, saw my face, cracked mirror. An old man, and I named it Tree of Old Age. Thus to name is to rise stones, to wound the bark with stones. It battered it with stones, and the stones to cut the bark to fester in bark. The tree of old age, stone patterns, starting from the roots, they reach the highest leaves. The next day gone with walking, flutes sounding in his ears, champion voices. He squatted on a rock to rest. He leaned his hands against the rock, Tula shining in the distance, which he saw and began to cry. He cried, the cold sobs cut his throat. The double threads of tears, a hailstorm beating down his face. The drops burn through the rock. The drops of sorrow fall against the stone and pierce its heart. And where his hands had rested, shadows linger on the rock, as if his hands had pressed soft clay, as if the rock were clay. The mark too of his buttocks in the rock, embedded there forever. Hollow his hands preserved forever, a place named Tamacapalco. The stone bridge next, water swirling in the riverbed, a spreading turbulence of water. Where he dug a stone up, made a bridge across, and crossed it. Who kept moving until he reached the lake of serpents, the alders waiting for him there, to tell him he would have to turn around. He would have to leave their country and go home. Who heard them ask where he was bound for, cut off from all a man remembers. Who heard them ask where he was bound for, cut off from all a man remembers, his city rights, long fallen in disregard. Who said it was too late to turn around, his need still drawing him, and when asked again where he was bound, spoke about a country of red daylight and finding wisdom. Who had been called there? Whom the sun was calling? Azakin. Who waited then until they told him he could go, who could leave his Toltec things and go. And so he left his arts behind, his creation of man's hands, and the imaginations of his heart, the crafts of gold and silver, of works of precious stones, of carpentry, of sculpture, mural paintings, and books of illumination, and feather weaving, who, delivering that knowledge, threw his jeweled necklace in the lake, which vanished in the depths, and from then on this place was called the Lake of Jewels. Another stop along the line, this time the city of sleepers, and it runs into a shaman. Says you bound for somewhere, honey? Says the country of red daylight, know it. Expect a land there probed, a little wisdom maybe. Says no fooling around, a bit of palenque brewing. It's just for you. Says most kind, but awful sorry, scarcely touched a drop, you know. Says perhaps you got no choice, perhaps. I might not let you go now. Says perhaps you got no choice, perhaps I might not let you go now. You didn't drink, perhaps forcing you against your will might even get you drunk. Come on, honey, drink up. Drinks with a straw, so drunk he falls fainting on the road, and dreams and snores. His snoring echoes very far, and when he wakes he finds silence and an empty town, his face reflecting and the hair shaved off, then calls it City of Sleepers. There's a peak between Old Smoky and the White Woman. Snow is falling, and fell upon him in these days, and his champions, who were with him, on his doors, his clowns, his gimps. It fell until they were frozen, lost among the dead. The weight oppressed him, and he wept for them. He sang, his tears are endless, and the long sighs are issued from his chest. Further out, the hills of many colors, which he sought, protrudes everywhere, those dark rememberers of the road he walks. It ended on a beach. It ended with a hulk of serpents formed into a boat, and when he made it, he sat it and sailed away. A boat that glided on those burning waters, no one knowing when he reached the country of red daylight. It ended on the rim of some great sea. It ended with his face reflected in mirrors of its waves. The beauty of his face returned to him, and he was dressed in garments like the sun. It ended with a bonfire on the beach where he would hurl himself and burn, his ashes rising, and cries of birds. It ended with lament, with the birds of turquoise colors, birds the colors of wild sunflowers, red and blue birds. It ended with birds of yellow feathers in a riot of bright gold, circling until the fire had died out, circling while his heart rose through the sky. It ended with his heart transformed into a star. It ended with the morning star, with dawn and evening. It ended with a journey to death's kingdom, with 7 days of darkness, with his body changing into light, a star that burns forever in the sky. The Flight of Ketz-ol-ko-at.
Vuela, vuela, pajarito. Vuela, vuela, palo santo. bendiciones.